Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into some really chilling actual experiences, stories that, they really blur that line between something like an urban legend and just stark reality. These aren't made-up tales. They're accounts from real people across different U.S. states talking about things that happened to them that were deeply unsettling, sometimes totally inexplicable. Our goal here really is to explore the what-if behind these stories, to look at the hidden dangers that might just be lurking right under the surface of normal life.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating, I think, is how these incidents, which seem isolated, they actually expose how vulnerable we all are. They kind of force us to face this unsettling idea that some fears, they're not just in our heads, they're real. It shows how fast our sense of safety can just disappear.
Absolutely. And sometimes that happens in the places you'd least expect. So let's start with a story from a pretty quiet small town in New Mexico. It focuses on someone who seemed, totally harmless. This account is from someone who was 15 at the time, just trying to make some summer cash doing odd jobs. He talks about this older guy, Mr. Lesnar, early 70s, bald, big, white beard. Apparently, Lesnar used to be a teacher at his school. He remembers him as nice, maybe a little quirky, always wore socks with sandals, went to Mexico a lot. So one day, the teen asks Mr. Lesnar if he needs help with anything. Lesnar says yes, actually. Offers him $50 to reorganize some stuff in his house. The next day, the kid shows up. First thing he notices is that distinct old person smell. They start in the kitchen, then Lesnar asks him to box things up in the basement. Says he's got too much junk down there. So the teen heads down these dozen steps. The basement is described as strangely large, smells kind of stale, just one dusty light bulb. He's down there alone for maybe 45 minutes just boxing stuff up. Okay, and this is where things take a really dark turn. He's working, leans against the wall, and feels something give, a loose panel. Not broken, but clearly meant to be hidden. Curiosity wins out. He kind of fiddles with it, gets it off, and behind it, a small compartment. And inside that, a box. He said it was like finding, a hidden treasure chest. He quickly checks upstairs, no sign of Mr. Lesnar, so he pulls the box out. Inside there's a journal, some random knickknacks, and a small stack of photos. Maybe 10, 12 of them. But when he looks at the photos, his blood runs cold. The top one. It's Mr. Lesnar, holding a pistol, kneeling next to a dead woman. Looks like she's Mexican, lying in the dirt, eyes staring lifelessly at the camera, clearly shot. The next photo, almost the same, but a man this time. Every single picture shows Lesnar, kneeling next to a bloody victim on the ground. Posing, like 100 with trophies, he said. And this disturbing grin on his face. The victims were all different ages. There was Spanish writing on the back of the photos, but the kid couldn't read it. He also noticed Lesnar looked younger in some photos, maybe mid-60s in others.
Wow. That's profoundly disturbing. What really hits hard here isn't just the gruesome find itself. It's that sudden violent shift in how you see someone. It speaks to that idea of the social mask, doesn't it? That terrifying moment when the nice, normal facade just crumbles, revealing something monstrous underneath. It really forces you to confront the possibility that people around you, people you think you know, could be hiding.
Yeah.
Just unimaginable darkness. It plays on our need to trust, to categorize people.
Yeah, exactly. So he's completely overwhelmed. Shock, disgust, just sheer terror. He shoves the photos back in the box, jams it back into the wall, desperately trying to get the panel back on right. He's just getting it settled when he hears a creak. Top of the basement stairs, he whips around. And there's Mr. Lesnar, standing there, looking down at him. Lesnar just says casually, "Looks like you're doing a good job." The teen mumbles something back, trying to act normal. Then Lesnar adds, "Oh, don't mind me. I'm just going upstairs for a nap. You keep on going down there." And he slowly turns and walks away. The kid's mind is just racing. He felt like, quote, a rat in a cage. As soon as he hears Lesnar's footsteps fade upstairs, he bolts. Up the basement stairs, straight to the front door. Locked from the inside. He hears movement upstairs, panics, runs into the kitchen, remembers seeing a back door there. Grabs the handle, twists, thank God it opens. He just flies out of that house and runs. Doesn't stop running. Looks back only once. And he sees Mr. Lesnar's face in a downstairs window, holding something. The kid couldn't tell what. He just kept running.
He said later he was incredibly thankful Lesnar lived in a cul-de-sac, not somewhere isolated. He was convinced Lesnar would have shot at him if he had had a clear shot. He immediately told his parents, obviously. They called the authorities, told them everything, the panel, the box, the photos. Officers went to the house. They found the secret compartment. But just like the teen feared, it was empty.
Of course.
Yeah. No box, no photos, no evidence. They didn't investigate any further. Basically dismissed the kid's story. Mr. Lesnar lived there for another 8 years after that, and the kid, now an adult, says he still lives with this constant fear, always looking over his shoulder when he visits his parents, knowing Lesnar wanted that secret buried.
Chilling. Absolutely chilling.
That kind of hidden darkness right in plain
Yes.
sight. It really shakes you. It makes you question everything. But sometimes the terror isn't hidden. Sometimes it's just out there. Inexplicable. Which brings us to our next story, this one from the wilds of Minnesota. Remote cabin on Vermillion Lake. You can only get there by boat. The narrator and 3 friends, Ryan, Kevin, Tommy, they're all high school juniors. First trip without parents. Planning to stay 5 nights. So third night. They've had a campfire, maybe a few beers. They head down to the dock to look at the stars. Suddenly, they hear a splash. They look out across the lake, and they see, well, what looked like a head floating out in the middle of the lake, staring at us directly. It's far out, maybe 3/4 of a football field. Long black hair, really pale face, described as a blob-like. No clear features, no eyes, mouth, chin, just pale skin, black hair, and perfectly still. They try to rationalize it. Maybe it's a loon, a bird common there, but it doesn't move, not an inch, for like an hour or two. Later, the narrator goes outside for a bathroom break, looks out. That dark shape is still there, but now it's close to
Maybe 30 yards away, and now he can make out a nose. The face is still incredibly pale, like it hadn't seen the sun for years, he said, and it still seems to be staring right at him.
This kind of thing taps into something really primal. It's when our basic pattern recognition fails, when something just doesn't fit any known category, any explanation. Our usual ways of coping, our intellect, they offer no comfort. You're left with just this raw fear of the unknown. It's the ultimate other, something our defenses just aren't built for.
Definitely. So he goes back inside, tells his friends. They all come out, see it's still there. Nobody feels like going down to the dock anymore, understandably. Few hours pass. Narrator looks out one last time. The thing is gone. Huge relief, right? But the night wasn't over. It's hot, no AC, so the cabin windows are open. He's trying to sleep, and he starts hearing footsteps outside, below the cabin stairs. He hears feet, like clicking on the wood, pacing, back and forth for maybe 3 minutes. He's just frozen, terrified. Then suddenly, the steps make 2 quick movements up the deck stairs, turn, and just sprint away down the path into the woods. Silence again. A few minutes later, he wakes up his friend Tommy. Just then, Ryan walks out of his room, face pale, urgent, says, "We need to leave now." Ryan says he rolled over in bed and saw something peeking in the top right corner of his window. It tucked away fast, but he saw it. He described one eye, ghostly white skin, and long black hair. And given how high the window was, Ryan said whatever it was had to be, like damn near 8 foot tall, or standing on something really tall. So then the narrator and Tommy tell the others about the pacing footsteps they heard. And everyone is just completely freaked out. They pack immediately, don't even bother cleaning, head down the stairs, and in the dirt path, they see bare footprints leading along the path all around the cabin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they hurry to the boat, get in, speed away. Narrator keeps watching the island. Nothing. On the drive home, Ryan just breaks down, sobbing, asking, "What was it? What did I see?" Oh, God. He had trouble sleeping for ages, ended up needing therapy, and to this day, won't sleep near an open window unless there's a curtain. The cabin owner apparently found the footprints later, but nothing else ever happened. Still, the narrator and Ryan, they refuse to ever go back.
I don't blame them.
Right. So from that kind of ambiguity, that unseen thing, let's shift to another really unsettling visual encounter. This one's from Indiana. Narrator and his girlfriend are hiking in Morgan Monroe State Forest. Peaceful afternoon, birds chirping, insects buzzing, you know the vibe. Then, suddenly 3 distinct gunshots, pop, 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 echoing through the woods not too far away. A few seconds of silence, then 3 more shots. They decide, okay, time to turn back. Don't want to run into whoever that is. But as they turn, they notice something really eerie. Total silence. After the shots, the woods just went completely quiet. No birds, no insects, nothing. Just dead quiet.
That unnatural silence itself is deeply unsettling, a common element in these kinds of stories.
Absolutely. And amidst that quiet, they hear one sound just behind them. Footsteps. Twigs snapping. They turn around, expecting maybe a hunter. But what they see is, quote, a humanoid figure that obviously wasn't human, moving down the trail towards them. He described it as a living silhouette. Like even in the sunlight, it looked dark, like a shadow that light just couldn't touch properly. From the outline, it looked skin and bones. And tall. Real tall, he said. Definitely bigger than the narrator. And it was moving with these long strides, covering ground really fast.
That description, the living silhouette, it's terrifying because it lacks detail. It's almost an anti-description. An entity you can't properly see, can't comprehend visually. It bypasses our usual threat assessment. We can't categorize it, can't predict it. It hits that deep, ancient fear of something truly unknown, something outside reality as we know it.
For sure. So, needless to say, they just bolted. Ran back the way they came as fast as they could. No idea if it followed them. They were way too scared to look back. They just got to their car and hightailed it out of there. Haven't been back to Morgan Monroe State Forest since.
Another place crossed off the list.
Exactly. Okay, so we've had hidden monsters, inexplicable entities. Let's turn now to threats that are maybe less supernatural, but honestly, no less terrifying, because they come from people. Our first story here is from a place called Rube Hill in Virginia, described as basically a glorified gravel path through the woods, about 3 miles long, mostly unpaved, really rough. And there are these handmade signs nailed to trees: no trespassing, we're watching you, stuff like that. The narrator admits he used to take friends there late at night for scares, tell stories about meth heads, dangerous labs hidden in the woods, thinking it was all just BS. Now, he thinks maybe there was some truth to it. He talks about one time with his friend Aaron. They're almost through the woods. It's around midnight. Aaron suddenly freaks out. Narrator checks his rearview mirror. Truck headlights, barreling up behind them, kicking up loads of dirt, moving incredibly fast for such a terrible road. He notes he'd driven this road dozens of times, never once saw another car. So this aggressive approach felt really wrong, really jarring.
Yeah, that immediately sets off alarm bells. Isolation plus aggression is a bad mix.
Definitely. But the really chilling incident happened later with another friend, Chris. They go back to Rube Hill, this time around 2 a.m. Narrator has no music on, wants to be alert. As they're driving, he suddenly slams on the brakes, throws the car in park. His headlights hit something stretched across the road. It's a thick metal cable, pulled taut. On the right side, wrapped around a tree, roughly at head height if you were in a truck. On the left, anchored to a fence post, about chest height.
Wow, that's not just a warning, that's a trap. That's premeditated, calculated, malevolent intent right there. It really makes you think about these isolated areas, these off the beaten path places. What lengths will people go to enforce their space, or worse, just to harm people? It's a stark reminder of planned human danger.
Totally. So they're sitting there, just stunned, and then they hear it again. Gravel crunching behind them, tires spinning, truck headlights, tearing down the road towards them again. Narrator panics. His car sits pretty low. He throws it in drive, pulls hard right, floors it, and ducks under the cable. Here's this loud screech of metal scraping across the roof. He cringes but keeps going, just floors it down the rest of the hill. But here's the final, really creepy detail. As they clear the tree line, start entering cornfields, he glances to his right, casts Chris. And just for a second, he sees somebody standing about 3 or 4 feet back in the corn.
Oh, man.
He slams the accelerator, then checks his rearview mirror, and he sees a man standing in the road behind us, lit up by the moonlight and his taillights. The man has a long object slung over his shoulder. Couldn't tell if it was a cane, maybe a rifle. Didn't stick around to find out. He said the car had that scrape mark on the roof for as long as he owned it. A constant reminder. He never went back to Rube Hill.
Smart move.
Yeah. So from that kind of silent, planned menace, we shift to a different kind of human horror, maybe even more disturbing because it's so unpredictable. This happened in the Richmond area of Virginia. The narrator and his best friend Roberto are doing a long hike, 14 miles in a state park, early morning. Around mile 9, they come across a middle-aged white woman. She's holding a small dog, panting heavily. She's crying, looks lost, has no water, no supplies. She claims she only walked about a mile, but they figure, based on where they are, she's got to be at least 5 miles from where she said she started. Doesn't add up. So Roberto calls for a ranger boat to come get her. While they're waiting for the boat, the woman's whole demeanor changes. Suddenly, the exhausted look vanishes. She becomes very animated, super thankful, overly friendly. Then she insists on giving them a hug. Roberto politely declines, uses the I'm too sweaty excuse. And just like that, her good mood came to a screeching halt. She stops talking, just stares at Roberto with this sinister look, the narrator called it. Then she starts talking only to her dog, saying weird stuff like, don't say another word to them, we don't like them anymore. Roberto and the narrator are, understandably, really freaked out now.
That switch, it's incredibly unsettling, isn't it? The almost theatrical change in personality. From distress to this sudden, sharp aggression, it highlights that underlying volatility some people have. It can erupt without warning, turning a seemingly normal interaction into something really threatening. That unpredictability is terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. So the park rangers show up, pick her up. As the boat pulls away, she gives Roberto and the narrator the most evil look imaginable. They finish their hike, get back to Roberto's car in the parking lot. As they get closer, they see dents, new dents all over the hood, definitely weren't there before. Roberto starts running towards his car, furious. And just then, that same woman appears from behind the picnic area. And she's running straight at Roberto with a goddamn hammer. Yep. Yes, gets right up to him, starts swinging it. Luckily, she misses. Roberto dodges and she kind of trips over herself. They manage to hold her down, call 911. When the police arrive, she immediately starts screaming that they were hurting her, tells the cops to shoot them. Then comes the crazy backstory. One of the cops recognized her. Turned out he was her cousin. He explained she'd broken into her ex-husband's new family's apartment the night before and stolen their dog. That was the dog she had. And even crazier, while she was following the narrator and Roberto on the trail, she was apparently live streaming on Facebook, whispering over and over, "I'm gonna kill them."
Oh my God.
Yeah. Her ex-husband saw the Facebook Live video and called the police on her right then. The cop cousin said she used to be totally normal, worked in the school system, he said, until she just snapped and became this demon-like person.
Wow. Wow. A complete break from reality.
Exactly. So what do we take away from all this? We've gone from, hidden killers to things we can't even explain, and then just raw, unpredictable human violence. These stories, I think, they're a powerful reminder that the really scary stuff, it's not always in movies or books. Sometimes it's right there in the real world, just outside your door. They show how fragile our sense of safety really is.
And they really raise that crucial question, don't they? In a world where things like this actually happen, how do you balance that natural human curiosity with the basic instinct to stay safe? Maybe the biggest lesson here is to always, always trust that gut feeling, that little voice that tells you something is just off. Not right. These stories are a stark reminder that we need to listen to that warning system.
Couldn't agree more. So it makes you wonder, are some places just dark, marked by something, or is it all just random chance, these weird intersections of the normal and the horrifying? That thin veil between everyday life and Dimmick. Well, the monstrous. What would you do if you found yourself in one of these situations? Something to think about. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into